The science fiction story begins with showing some astronauts who were researching the Helio comet while sitting in their spaceship. This comet appears once every 70 years, and people had assigned the astronauts to research it. As they approached the comet closely, they saw a large object near the comet. None of the astronauts could understand whether it was a large asteroid or a big rock. However, upon getting closer, they realized that it was a very large spaceship cruising through the universe in the same way as theirs. The team decided to enter the spaceship and see what was inside. Some astronauts quickly put on their spacesuits and entered the ship. The spaceship seemed very advanced with new technology that humans had not developed yet. As soon as the astronauts reached the entrance, they saw strange creatures lying dead all around. The bodies of these creatures resembled bats, but were different. All these creatures had died for some reason. As they went further inside, the astronauts saw 3 humanoids trapped inside a chamber. Finding human-like beings inside a spaceship was not common. 2 of these humanoids were males, and 1 was female. Without much thought, the astronauts decided to take these humanoids inside their spaceship for research. They transferred each humanoid inside their spaceship one by one. And from then on, all the astronauts started advancing with those 3 humanoid creatures inside the spaceship. They had spent a full 5 months discussing everything, but the Space Center officials on Earth were quite worried. They had sent the astronauts to research the Helio comet, but their spaceship was supposed to return within a few months. However, until now, there was no sign of them. The research organization couldn't even contact those astronauts, so a rescue mission was launched to find all those astronauts and the spaceship. It took several months for this mission as well, but finally, the rescue team located the spaceship that had disappeared into space. It was the same spaceship where the astronauts had brought those 3 humanoids. Now, when the rescue team entered the spaceship, they found everything completely burnt. The astronauts inside it were completely dried up, as if someone had drained all the blood from their bodies, and the spaceship's communication system was completely dysfunctional, so they couldn't establish contact with Earth. As the rescue astronauts went further inside the spaceship, they met the 3 humanoids who the previous astronauts had brought from the spaceship. It seemed to the astronauts that we should take these humanoids to our space research organization. Therefore, they also made this mistake. And then, carrying all 3 humanoids, they were taken to a nearby space research organization. All scientists thought that these were normal humanoids who might have been lost in space, so they were all placed in separate chambers for examination. Now, as soon as a scientist entered the chamber where the female humanoid was kept, she suddenly regained consciousness. She stood up suddenly and started approaching the scientist in an odd way. As soon as she touched the scientist, his entire body began to dry up, just like the fate of those scientists who were aboard the spaceship. In a matter of moments, the humanoid had killed the scientist entirely. Another soldier, watching through the CCTV camera, saw everything and immediately rushed to the chamber to assist the scientist. But by the time he reached there, the female humanoid was attacking all the people coming her way, seemingly becoming completely free. She was openly wandering around the Earth, killing everyone in her path, and now it seemed she was fully liberated. This news began to spread throughout all the media that a dangerous alien had arrived on Earth, who looked just like humans. Now, the case was handed over directly to an officer named Ken, who would have to catch and eliminate the humanoid. Ken directly goes to the scientists for interrogation, hoping they might know something. Upon questioning the scientists, Ken learns that all these humanoids were found in a strange spaceship where bat-like creatures were found dead. Perhaps, just like those bat-like creatures, these humanoids also have properties similar to bats, sucking the energy and blood of other humans to stay alive and become strong. At the research center, the other 2 humanoids, who were asleep, also came alive and began wreaking havoc all around. Although many soldiers attacked them, They managed to kill them all, and then went outside. Now, Ken meets with his senior officer, Falada, who was taking him to the scientist, where the female humanoid had absorbed all his energy. It seemed as if all the blood had been sucked out of his body, only his bones were visible. But when another doctor came in for examination, the scientist suddenly regained consciousness, and he began to attract the doctor towards him. In the next moment, the scientist began to absorb all the energy of the doctor, transferring all his energy and blood back into himself. Now, just like the scientist, the doctor also had powers similar to the alien, which could absorb the energy of others. Ken and Falada, seeing all this with their own eyes, were quite shocked. Therefore, the first thing they did was to capture the insane scientist and detain him. Ken explains to Falada that they have to find these humanoids at any cost, or else they will continue to absorb the energy of everyone around them.